All right, well, welcome to this workshop that is kind of a companion to the Focus Hub. Welcome to all of you who have purchased the pre-sale, who have continued to purchase. I'm really excited to be getting Focus Hub out there. This is the system that I've been using since I started using Notion, actually, and it's kind of evolved over time as I've kind of assimilated new ideas and new ways of working into it. And this is kind of my system as it stands right now, how I ship work during a 9 to 5, and also how I ship creative projects and all that kind of thing as well. So I think that there's some unique ideas in here that you are going to like. So I think that's really cool. So there are some elements of GDT, Getting Things Done by David Allen. I've been using GDT for a really long time, and I don't use it strictly anymore, but I still use elements of that system. There is also elements of Basecamp's. They do a 6-week cycle, and there's some other elements that I use from when we used to use Basecamp as a project manager. And then there's some just some of my own ideas and some things that have come out of essays that I've written and articles that I've written. So it really is kind of like everything that I know about how to get things done, and not just fill your day with more things, but how to know the right things to do, how to know the highest ROI things to do, and then how to actually get those done in a way that you can still enjoy life. Like, my whole premise around productivity is that we are not, I'm not here to say put all the stuff in your day. I'm here to say put the most important things in and get the most important things done, and then go and enjoy your life. That's really the whole premise of the Focus Hub. And so, when you're in work mode, just get in and focus, and then when you're not, just go and love your life. So let's dive in and have a look at the Focus Hub, how it works, and I'm going to kind of talk you through each section and bring in kind of some lessons along the way. All right, so let's do it. So there's one main dashboard. There is not a million of them. There's one main dashboard. It's called the Focus Hub, and doing happens here. The execution happens here in this hub. So at the top, you have your status board, and this is really like a high-level view of what you've got going on. So on the left-hand side, we have our current project cycle. So I'm going to talk a little bit about cycles first up, and why I use project cycles. And then on the right-hand side, you have your project status board, and that's kind of where all the current projects are at, and how they're kind of moving through your system. So let's talk a little bit about project cycles. I took this concept from Basecamp. They have a book that you can actually access online. I will put it in as part of the resources in the Focus Hub that you can use. But we have been using project cycles, I would say, maybe for the last 2 years in my 9 to 5 job in marketing, and they've really changed how we ship work. And so they've helped us a lot to ship more work than we've kind of ever done before. So like on a normal level, most of the time we would be doing things like, we just continue adding new projects, like, oh, a new project, a new shiny thing, let's just add that on. And what a project cycle does is really give us a constraint of a set amount of time to say, this is what we're focusing on in this set amount of time, and these are the projects that are going to help us do that. So so for us, I run kind of 6 to 8 week cycles, pretty along the same lines as Basecamp. So the cycle is 6 weeks, and then there's like a 2-week cool down period where if you've done all your work, you can kind of like cool down. If not, you kind of like, that's your 2 weeks to really get things done. And so you can see here in the cycle, there's a few things you can see kind of as a dashboard, and then we'll dive in and I'll show you how to actually use that. But some people name their projects like with names, like project summer, or I don't know, like different things like that. I just name them with a number, because I don't then have to get creative and find a name and that kind of thing. So there are the dates in there for the project, for the cycle, the percentage of like how far are we through the cycle in terms of weeks, what the current cycle focus is, what number we're up to, how many cycle projects that we have going on, and then a list of all of the projects. So if we come in here, can open this up, you can see the same thing. So all of those things from the dashboard come from here. Okay, so when you start a new cycle, you'll come in, you'll input the dates, you'll give your cycle a focus. And I really encourage you to do this. If you have kind of a business, I've put some kind of main pillars of the business. So if you need to work on lead gen or lead nurture, conversion delivery, upsells, branding, all of that kind of thing, you can use those, or you can put some others in. So for instance, if you're a creator and you want to work on audience building, you might say, this cycle I'm going to work on audience building, or this cycle I'm going to work on this. So you can add your own in, and that's just a really good way to focus your projects. And this is how kind of cycles work best, is that when you can work around a focus area and have a whole lot of projects that get you towards that focus area, then you're going to find that the projects that you do ship are your highest ROI projects. So when the cycle is current, you'll say it's current, and that kind of filters all the projects and the tasks in the dashboard. So and so when it's not, you just can go no, and you create your new one. The cycle progress, so each week you'll come in and you'll just update it, and so it's up to you how long you want your cycles to be. And I've really left this open for you. So I run 8-week cycles, so I always just put 8 in here, and then let's say the current week is 7. This is actually an old one, but you can easily come in here and you can say, you know what, I just want to run 6-week cycles, and the cycle, let's say we're up to 3, and so the progress automatically changes. So each week you'll just come in and say, I'm up to this week, and you'll do that. So then what you'll have down here is a whole heap of focus of your projects. Okay, these are all the projects filtered by this particular cycle. You can see the progress of each, the status, all the actions, the next actions, which I will talk about, all the complete and the incomplete actions. Now I'm going to go through starting a new project with you, so that you can, a new cycle, not a new project. and so you can see how kind of I set up my my cycles. So if I want to start a new one, I'll just go new. That's going to add it to the yes column here, and I might give this, let's say, project cycle 6 2021. I like to give it the year because as you go on, like, you get confused. Was that cycle 6 2020 or 2021? So then we'll add our dates in. So let's say that we started this one from this coming Monday, and then I just count out 8 weeks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I will end it here. Oh, sorry, you do have to put an actual end date and end it here. Done. So that's that. Let's say that we wanted to work on lead generation. It's already current. We're going to say that it is 8 weeks and this is week 1. Okay, so we're already 13% through. Then all you need to do is just click new cycle, and that is going to bring up a whole heap of projects that you can then add. So let's say it's lead generation, and I want to say, okay, well, I'm going to work on a new product. I'm going to work a lead magnet. So you just like put all your projects in, and you go from there. Now, if you do have ongoing projects, like I tend to have projects like my brand sprint, or I do education, which we do kind of month to month. I just have one project and I add it in to multiple ones. So once you've kind of got all your projects listed, they will start to show up here. So let's let me show you how to do the ongoings, and then we'll come back. So I have an ongoing column here, so I can know all of my ongoing projects. And so I basically, at the start of a cycle, I will come in, click on a project, and just add it to the next one. So cycle 6, 2021. So I'll just do that for each, just so I know they're going to be carried along, and then you'll be able to see they show up down here. All right, so you notice now these couple of projects, a new project and a lead magnet, they're actually not in here, and that is because we have not given them a project status. So whenever you add new projects in, you just need to open them up and just go new project, and that's going to give them their little icon, and then you're going to want to put them into a different a particular status. Now this is where I've got my this is where I have taken another concept from Basecamp, and it's called the hill chart. So basically in a cycle is that as part of a project in a cycle, every project has a part of it where you're figuring it out. So there might be a whole heap of research you have to do. You might actually not know how to complete that particular thing. And so that's kind of figuring it out. And then you've got a whole heap of projects that are in getting it done. And so there a whole heap of stuff around, like you know exactly what you need to do, and we're just like heading down the hill, and that's why we call it kind of a hill chart. So each of these, when you start, will be a figuring it out project, unless you like really know what you've got to do. So once it's in here, you'll start to see a lead magnet, a new product. Okay, and so as you're kind of, if you've got projects that are left over that are not finished, so let's say for instance like all of these getting it done ones, they're like there's still a few little things, you'll come in, you'll just add it into cycle 6, add, and then that way when we remove project 5, because we can't keep project 5 as active, when we say no, what will happen is you'll only be left with the projects that are in the current project cycle. Okay, so you don't have to worry about like changing your filter up here or anything like that. It automatically filters to whatever the project is that you're working on. So, and then you can always see all the ones that are not current, so you can always go back to old cycles, have a look at them, and do that. So I'm just going to flick it back just for this demonstration, just so you can see. So you can see like as soon as we start to like move things from current to not current, you'll lose them from the projects, and you want to lose them. Like as things are completed, you want to get rid of it. So once you've done that, that's our cycles. What I find great is that like when we didn't work with cycles, we just had this never-ending list of projects, and you never felt complete. Like you never felt like, oh yeah. But like with a cycle, because you have a start and an end to it, you can say, okay, well this is actually everything I completed in this cycle. And you can start to really see patterns. You know, like maybe you added too many projects to that cycle. I did that quite a few times in the first parts of our cycles. You might have too little and you're bored, or they weren't the kind of projects that you wanted. So by having a start and end, you have a built-in feedback loop that you can look back on, and you can say, do you know what, we actually completed most of our projects. In that cycle we had kind of 10 or 8 or 6 projects. That's kind of our sweet spot. So the point is really to learn from each of the cycles and to use the constraints of the cycle to actually propel you forward, rather than just like working on an endless hamster wheel of projects all the time. Okay, and I suppose the reason, I use 6 because that's what Basecamp does, but I do feel like it's like a sweet spot. It's like long enough that I can get some substantial work done, but then short enough that I know, like, let's say some shiny new thing comes up, and I want to do that project. I can immediately say, do you know what? It's week 4. I just have to wait a few more weeks till I can add it into my next project cycle. And so I just keep like a whole lot of ideas on the back burner that I know I want to work on, but they're not actually in this cycle. But I know it's short enough that I'm going to get to that pretty quickly, which is, that's something I really, really love. So that's cycles. And I am going to include a dashboard that doesn't include project cycles, just in case, I just don't want to work like that. So you will be able to choose which one that you duplicate. I encourage you to give it a try. Try out working in these project cycles, see how it feels. If you don't like it, you can always, take this database out and just have, you could just have, instead of like changing cycles, everything just gets added to this current cycle, and you just work one cycle. You can always, if you like to work in quarters, you could do the same. You just rename it from project cycles to quarters. If you like to work in years, in 6 months, I don't know, or even in months. Months is, I found, way too short. So once you've done cycles, then we get into the actual projects. And so you can see, like here, I love to look at things visually. I think it's one of the best ways that I've been able to really, at a glance, be able to kind of not only know where I'm up to, but be able to say where I'm up to. So like, with colleagues, I know, like, people saying, well, where's that project up to? And I can say, well, actually, like, the book, like, we're still really trying to figure out how that works. We're kind of doing this, we're doing that. So that's kind of how I found visually I can easily say we're up to this. You can see there's like visual a progress bar. Love that kind of thing. And you can also see this. You have 3 next actions for this project. So let me talk a little bit about next actions. This comes directly from GDT. So it's a concept that, like, there's a whole heap of actions, right? So if I open up any one of these, there's actually a whole lot of actions that could be done, but what we're trying to figure out is what is the very next action that needs to be done to move this project forward. And that's really what we mean by a next action. And that's I don't want to sit and look at every possible action and wonder, should I be doing that this week? Should I not be doing that? I want to make sure that I'm doing the very next action. So I make sure, and we'll get down into weekly planning down here in a sec, but for all of my projects, I just like to come in and do a big brain dump of all of the tasks that have to be done. So let's say we had a new ongoing project. It's in cycle 6. Now, if you do want to add in projects on this particular dashboard, you do need to add it in to, you need to add that, you need to add it to the cycle. So see how we put project 6 and it's not coming up? That's because we're currently in cycle 5. So you come in here, you'll just put the current cycle in, and then it will come up down here. So let's say this is a new project. We'll click on there, open it up, and then you've got kind of a blank action zone here where you can add a whole heap of actions. So you want to come in here and go action 1, action 2, action 3. And so you'll just add in all the actions for that project. Now, each of these, if we open it up, has a, I've got a whole heap of templates in here. So I work with other people. So sometimes it's a task for me, sometimes it's a task for someone else. And I like to add icons. If you have any of my other products, you know I love my icons. So you can add a task for yourself, a task for someone else. You can add a new agenda. So agendas come from GDT, and I'll talk a little bit about those and kind of having agenda lists. And then I often do add meetings in, and that's because I like to know what my capacity is during the week. So I will add in meetings, but not necessarily in the project. Okay, so for each of these, you're going to come through and you're just going to go, that's a task for me, that's a task for someone else, that's a task for me. And so you'll just like add in a whole heap of tasks. That will give it a type. And then another big part of this system is working in cycles. And so cycles are basically like 30-minute blocks. And so this is just a way to estimate how long is this going to take. So action 1 might be a really quick 30-minute task, and you'll give it a 1 cycle. Action 2, you might just need to speak to someone, so that's going to be a quick one for you as well. This task number 3 might be like a really big task and take you at least 90 minutes. And so you can see what will happen is you'll start to build up kind of an estimate of how long that task is going to take. And then when we get to actually planning the week, we will be able to plan not over plan and over schedule. Okay. So I like to have a waiting column. So if there's, let's say like action 1 is something that I can't do straight away, I'm actually waiting on someone, I can tick that, and that way that will come up in my waiting list, and I can follow that person up or that kind of thing. And then there's a tickler, and this does come from GDT as well. And so basically you'll notice in this whole system, I do not use due dates. And they're just not in my system, so I don't use them. But what I do use is these things called ticklers. So if, for instance, I want to brain dump a whole lot of tasks for this project, but I don't actually need to do a certain task until, let's say, like I don't have to worry about this until the 25th. And so what happens is I can just download my brain and brain dump a whole lot of tasks, and I know that's going to show up at the time that it needs to show up. And so this is a big part of creating like a system that you trust, is that you can just put a whole heap of stuff in there and you know it's going to turn up at a time that you need. Okay, so that's so once you kind of plan your cycle and all the projects you want in your cycle, then you're going to come into each of your projects and you're just going to brain dump all of the things that need to be done for that project. You're going to work out kind of generally what you think of the cycles are. You don't have to do this straight up. You might do this kind of in the planning stage, so that's totally okay. But I like to kind of just like, as I'm doing it, quick, don't overthink it. And then if it needs kind of a tickler, you're going to put it in there. Then you're going to end up with a whole heap of projects at different stages and with different next actions in them. Okay, and so that's really at a high level how you plan your cycle and how you can look and see where everything is at. This does collapse, okay, because you don't actually need to know the status all the time of everything. So that does collapse so that you can get straight into your weekly play, which is where you're going to work most of the week. And so this is kind of like, yeah, where you're going to work mostly. So keep this open when you need it, close it when you don't. You will notice that there is some hidden columns here. And so you can move things in. Like if you say, you know what, this one here, the tick, that's complete. I'm going to move that in. And so you can get it off the status board. And so there are some other ones like incoming projects. So sometimes if I have an idea for a project, that's why there's a little light bulb there, I might just add it into incoming, so that I can deal with it in the next cycle run. I don't really use upcoming very much, but if you know that there's definitely something that's coming up at a certain point, you can put that in. Sometimes I will brainstorm a whole heap of projects for a cycle and then go, no, do you know what? I'm going to move that to a later cycle, and so that will we'll move it in here. And if something just is like, nah, not going to do that anymore, I just trash it. So that's kind of some of those hidden columns. I don't keep them open because what I want to see is only the things that I can deal with right now. Okay, so I've got ongoing projects, I've got figuring it out, and I've got getting it done. And hopefully what will happen through a cycle is like most of the projects will sit in here in probably the first month. Most projects will be here, and then you'll go, 1 week you'll go, oh, actually, I know what I'm doing for that one, and I know what I'm doing for that one, and I know what I'm doing for that one. And so they'll start to get into getting it done. All right, so let's close that up and let's talk about the weekly play. This is really, like I said before, where you are living every single week. So apart from working in kind of the 6-week cycles, I then work in my weekly kind of a weekly sprint, let's say. So on a Friday, sometime over the weekend, sometimes on a Monday morning, I will plan my week, and this is the plan that I live to. This is kind of like the dashboard is topsy-turvy in that, like, the status board is like overall, you do want to see that, and that's why it's at the top. But then the weekly play is where you live all of the week, and then down here is where you really plan out your weeks, and that's why it's down the bottom, okay? But for the sake of the video, I want to go through it in dashboard order. So, and now I'm thinking maybe I should go, no, we're going to do this. So, the weekly play. Set yourself up for success. Stop overscheduling yourself. Keep your week balanced. Okay, these are kind of the 3 values that I live by, because what was happening was I was just I was kidding myself that I could get more done than I could, and I just don't think that's a way to continue to do projects and continue to do tasks. So instead, I started to put some tools in place so that I could actually create a successful weekly plan. I think most people don't plan their weeks because they've spent time planning their weeks, and either they haven't been able to accomplish it all and they get to the end of the week and they're like, well, that was crap, or they over plan, and so that they get too overwhelmed and they know that the plan's not going to work subconsciously, so they don't do it. So this is how I plan and live during my week. So you'll see here on this side is a weekly schedule, and all of your daily tasks kind of show up in these toggles here. The toggles then add up in here to your focus days. And this has been a game changer for me. I know a lot of people have seen this on Twitter, and it's one of the main reasons people have jumped into the pre-sale. And so basically, this tells me a couple of different things. So one tells me how many cycles I have planned for my day. And this was a really big revelation to me working in cycles. Work cycles comes from ultra working, and I wouldn't say like I'm like super strict into ultra working, but I love the idea of work cycles. It also kind of like hails from like Pomodoro technique, like where you kind of work in 25-minute 25 minutes and then a 5-minute break. So this is how I focus my time, is that I know, like, let's say it's a Tuesday task, I've got this one task that's 30 minutes. So I just come in here, I've embedded the Pomodoro timer, and I'll just go start. And then I'll know, like, okay, I'm going to start that, kind of do my thing. blah, blah, blah. And then when it's done, I just stop it and I tick off the task that's done. Now you notice that is there's two boxes here. This one here is done and this one here is waiting. So let's say I did talk to her and I put it into waiting. You'll see it comes up here. Okay, so you can do that. And so what this does is help me to really focus those 30-minute times. I might have something that's a bit longer, like a 2 cycle, which is 60 minutes. So I know I'm going to come into my Pomodoro timer and set 60 minutes. You just come up here. Whoops. 60. Okay. And so then you would start your 60-minute timer. And I just find it really helps to focus me. I know what task I'm doing. I know how long roughly it's going to take, and I do it. So, so each of my tasks, I do give kind of this 30, 60, or 90 minute. If you have a task that's longer than 90 minutes, you probably need to break it down more. That's why I don't have more than 3. It's easy enough to not overthink 3 options. So up here, what you'll find is this is how many cycles that you have put into your day. So I put 7 in here, 6, 5, 6, 7. I do not do more than 10 cycles in my day. I've found for me that's a sweet spot, and I probably can't do 10 every single day of the week. That's my capacity, and I'm okay with it. And I've just lived with that. If I can get 4 to 5 hours of focused work done every day, I can tick off a lot of things in the week. And if I'm trying to do more than that, I know it's not going to get done. And so I prefer to be truthful with myself at the beginning of the week, then end up at the end of the week going, you know, I probably should have scheduled less things in. So that's the number of things, and then there's some messages that you get. Okay, so if you are under the 10, you're going to get a high 5. If you are over 10, okay, so if I move some of these up, Tuesday, we're at 9. Okay. Oh, oops. Okay, we'll keep moving. Oh, I did that already. Okay, now we're at 10. So it's going to tell you, nope, wrong way. Turn around, go back. All right. So you want to make sure that you are under the 10. That is really what we want to do. We don't want to be, you don't want to be over 10. Now, if you want to go and have a different capacity, that is totally okay, and you can do that. So you can just come into any one of these days, click on the work capacity, or the cycles planned, no, work capacity, sorry, and see how you've got this 10. If you want to make it less, just type 8. If you want to make it more, you would type more, okay? And that's going to give you just a different threshold to put that in. I'm going to put it back to 10, okay? Really, really think seriously about how much focused work you can get done in a day. Don't kid yourself into thinking you can do more than that. Okay, so these are all in toggles so that you can focus on that day's tasks. All right. You can also kind of wrap this up just in case you don't want to, see that all the time. The other thing that you can see here is the progress of those tasks throughout the day. So let's say on the Friday, I was like, yeah, I did that. So you can already see that changes on there. So that, I think for me, this has been a game changer, just to be able to see that. I really do like seeing the progress change as well. I think that's really, really cool. Okay, so that's where you work most of the day. So if you've done a good weekly plan, you will find that you can just come straight in here, open up the task for the day, and get started. All right. If you haven't done a weekly plan, look, it happens to all of us, so don't beat yourself up. Just get into the next up area, get a quick weekly plan going so that you can get the task that you need to get done that day done. This is also why I don't use due dates, because every week I'm looking at my next up tasks, I'm moving a whole heap of stuff into that week that I want to get done, and then I'm tagging them with a day. Okay, so that's why I don't really use due dates. But like the thing is, like, I used to use due dates, and it's like sometimes you're just adding it for the sake of it, and you're like, does that really need to be due on that day? But it actually doesn't. So that's why I kind of like, I like to use my weeks and then my days in there. Now, then you've got this section here, which is close the loop. And this is a really important section if you work with other people, if you're handing things off, even if you're just waiting for things, like if you emailed somebody and you're waiting back from them. So there's two things in here. So there's waiting for and follow up. So like I said, in any of these, let's say you need something from a colleague, you can always put that in waiting and it will show up in here. And you remember that when we were doing our project, we added action 1 as waiting. So that shows up here too. So that means, like, let's say at the beginning or the end of every day, you don't have to like remember what you were doing. You can just literally come in here and go, okay, is there anything I should follow up? And that's exactly what I do. End of every day, I'll come in and I'll be like, oh yeah, okay. Hey, did you manage to do that? Or that kind of thing. And like, I just found it really helps move things forward quicker, because I'm not forgetting that I handed that off to someone, or I needed to catch up with them, or that kind of thing. So that's waiting for. You can add things just random. So let's say you want to, it was just like a quick thought, you can add things in there. Then we've got agendas. So what I used to find is like, I'd have like a quick meeting or like 10 minutes that I could spend with a colleague. And I was like, oh, what did I want to talk to them again about? And so agendas really helps me with this. So whoever I need to talk to, I'm like, I just jump into my agendas and I go, okay, yep, I need to talk to her about that. And it's good for like, so I use this for meetings as well as for people. So if there's like something I need to talk about in a specific meeting, I will add that in. If it's a specific person, I'll just add their name in, and it goes by, it's sorted by name. So if you put their name in first, it will add it there. And then if you just open it, you can just click agenda, and it will give you your icon, and you will be cooking. So that's how I do it. And then if that's done, I just go, yep. If I talked about the meeting, I just go, yep, done. And so that's just like a quick way to, if I'm having meetings with people, I can put that in there. So that's the weekly schedule. This is where you're gonna hopefully just have your plan and work to it. It's where I live most of my week, and it's great. So this only works if you actually do, not only works, that's probably not right, but it works the best when you take some time out during your week to plan. And I feel like I gotta get resistance across the video from this, but I do really believe in setting yourself up for a really good week. Okay, so it really doesn't take me, I used to do big GDT weekly plannings, right? And they would take hours collecting all the inboxes and reviewing this and reviewing that. Like, I'm just not into that. I need something that's going to work fast, that I can see everything that I need all in one go. And that's exactly what this is. This is the quickest way that I've found to do it. So we've got, basically, there's a couple of things you want to do, right? If you end up at the end of the week and you've still got a few things that you didn't get done, which, happens, okay? absolutely happens. So let's say you've still got some things here. You're just gonna move up next task into day plan, so this last one, and you're just gonna move a whole lot of things back. Okay, and you can actually move like multiple things at a time. I'm gonna say there, and you're gonna start from a clean slate. So I'm just gonna go back and back. Okay. So now we have a clean task. We don't have any. We shouldn't have any tasks in here. Have to check some of those formulas before we ship this. Okay, so then you're going to end up with a whole lot of tasks here in your up next list. So let's just come back to the top for a sec, and then I'll explain how this works. So remember how I talked about tickler dates? This is exactly what happens with tickler dates. So when something is upcoming in the next week, it will show up here. And you can move it, you can tick the box, and it will move into here. And now we have, I think this was it down here. If I move that back, yeah, it's up here. So basically, this just says, yes, add it to the up next pile, done. Okay, and it's down here. I love the tickler. It honestly has saved me so many times. I know I can create a project plan and then things are just going to show up here. It's my favorite. So then what you'll need to do. So first step, anything you haven't done, move back into your up next pile. Okay. Then come into the review projects toggle, and all of your current projects are going to show up here. You're going to see the progress of each, and you're going to see how many next actions are in each. And so the key is to keep moving projects forward every week is to have at least one next action that you can do. Okay, so for instance, this ongoing project has 0. So we would come in here, we'd have a look at all of our actions, and we'd say, oh yeah, okay, I do want to do this one, and I want to do this one. Okay, and so you'll notice that they kind of sort. So they basically sort by next actions and by whether it's done or not. So if I mark that done, it automatically moves down. It's very clever. So let's say, okay, I've got 2 next actions now. So I come back in here, I've got my 2 next actions, and those next actions, they move in down here. So we've got action 2 and action 3. So basically we are building a list from our projects of things that we can do in that week. Okay, so then you would go through and you would you'd just review each of your projects, and you'd say, okay, there's one here, might if I needed to add new. So a lot of the time, like, I'll need to add new tasks as well. So this is the time to do that. So I'll say, okay, I need to write another chapter. And again, that's a task for me. Go back. So you can see, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to add that in. All right, and so now that has 2. So it just depends kind of like how many you can move forward. But I like to just do a quick review of my projects. What can I move forward? Do I need to add any new tasks? Okay, and it just kind of keeps projects in focus. Okay, then you can always come in here and you can have a look at all of the available tasks. Now, an available task is anything that isn't done, but that is not up next already. Okay, so a lot of the time I will, I'll only kind of use the projects to move tasks, like, because I would just want to know, okay, which ones need up next tasks. But sometimes I will just kind of, I don't know, if I want to fill up my up next list, I will come in here and I'll go, yeah, actually I do want to add action 5. I do want to have this template. Yeah, okay, let's add this one in. And so, like, I can always do that. And all of those, they come in down here. Okay, and so I'm just filling up this up next. Now, this up next pile is like crazy now. So I might say, I did choose way too much stuff. What am I doing? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that one. And so you just kind of end up with a whole heap of stuff. And so this is why, remember when we were back in projects and I said, I always like to kind of pre-load the cycles in. This is why, because I just want to see all the cycles. So that leaves me with a whole heap of stuff that I can then add into my days, which is why they're here. And so then the fun part comes in is that now we can just drag tasks over here into the days that we want to get them done. Now, I've toyed with a few different ways of doing this. I tend to have focus days where like Mondays are really like team and system type days. Tuesdays and Thursdays I work on marketing. Wednesdays I do coaching. Fridays I do a lot of education stuff. And so I have like days where I focus on certain things. And so I know that I can then move those things into those days. If you don't work like that, that's fine. I just find that really works well. So sometimes I'll even come in here and just remind myself. Systems, team, and then I might go marketing, coaching. So you can like literally just put that in just to remind yourself. So when you're actually over here, you're like, okay, write script. Well, usually I do that on marketing days. I'm going to move that in here. And so you can see that then adds it up here. You've got one, okay? And then you might go write email templates. Okay, that's another one. And so you'll just start to like put a whole heap of stuff in here. And as you build it out, you will start to see your numbers come up. So you're going to go, oh, I actually have a meeting that day. Now, sometimes what I do is before I actually do this, I'll have a look at my calendar, my Google Calendar, and I'll say, okay, I have a team meeting on Monday. Team meeting. Put the time in if you want, and then I'll come down here and go new meeting, and I'll add a cycle. It's usually about an hour. Done. And so what that does, it shows me like, because I know like Wednesdays I'll do like 5 or 6 coaching calls, and that'll be like the day for me. That's all the cycles taken. And so what that means is I know already that my capacity is like 2 cycles less on a Monday, because that's what I do. On a Tuesday I have a marketing meeting. So I'll put that in. I'll go to new meeting, and then I always put my cycles in. That's always an hour. And then you can actually move things around. So depending on where they are in the day. And so Tuesdays already have that. Let's say I need to look at monthly stats. That's also a marketing activity. You can start to see, okay, Tuesday is getting quite big. And let's say I then was like, oh yeah, this one as well needs to be Tuesday. And this is where you start to go, oh yeah, okay, no. So I need to either move this, and so I find being able to see this is really good, because for me, I know I'm probably not going to work on 2 90-minute activities in a day. That's just, for me, really energy sucking. And so I'll go, yeah, okay, I'm actually going to try and do that here, so that then I know I've got, a meeting, I've got a pretty, big deep work task, and then I might go, I might get a 1 action, and I might put a 1 action in. And so I start to kind of really be able to design my days around my energy levels, around my capacity, around what I know that I need to do. If you're working with a team, I use this every day in my 9-to-5 job, and people will often say, we need to get this done this week, or we need to get that done next week. Because I have this, I can easily go and I can say, look, this is everything that I've got on my list. And I do often do this with colleagues. I will say, this is everything I've got on the list. that I think is a priority. Is it a real priority? Like, could I push this back to next week to get your thing done? Not your thing, like as in like a bad thing, but like it's a team. We're working as a team, and so we find it's like we're bargaining. We're bargaining for, well, we have limited amount of time, and I think just being open to the fact that you have limited time and you cannot get all these things done. So stop thinking you're a Superman or a Superwoman and start to get realistic about what you can do, and you're going to be able to move lots of projects forward faster by doing that. So use the constraints to your advantage, and if you are in a team, a lot of the time I'll just go to my colleague and I'll say, look, this is everything I've got on. Am I looking at something the wrong way? Can we, you want to get this done? I think I need to get this done. What can we do? And not in a bad way at all. Like, we're not snarky about it. We do this all the time. We just bargain with everyone, because we know our limitations, and we know that we're not going to get things done, and we know that there's a certain focus for the cycle, and we're all working towards that focus. Okay, so whether you work on your own or whether you work in a team, it's like, what is the cycle focus? Is this going to get me to that cycle focus? Is this going to move a project forward? Am I working on my highest ROI tasks? And that is the key to this whole system, is that it is absolutely not, let's fill you up to the brim every single day. If I have 3 tasks on a Thursday that are my highest ROI tasks, and I'm outputting what I need to output, then I'm not adding anything else. This is not about filling your day up. And this is kind of where my productivity kind of has got to a point, in that I don't care about the busy work. I don't even care if I don't get to my 4 or 5 focused hours. I care about output, and I care about moving my projects forward. And if I've done that, great, I feel good, and I don't have to do busy work. So that's kind of the weekly plan, and this is really important for me if I can get this right. And so it really shouldn't take you very long to create this weekly plan. You're literally coming in here, checking that you haven't got anything left over, moving it back. You're coming in, you're reviewing your project, you're adding anything that in that needs to get actioned next, and then you're literally moving things into your day plan. And if you end up with a whole lot of stuff, you have to bargain with yourself, and you have to say, okay, that's just not getting done this week. It is what it is. And what you'll find is that as you start to go through these cycles more, you start to get into a flow. You get a feel for how many projects that you've got on, how big is that project, how small is it, and you really start to work realistically with yourself. Because time is really one of our only constraints. And yes, you can work smarter, and you can use leverage, and you can do all of that, and I do. And I do that every day. And I try and work efficiently, and that's why I use the cycles and the Pomodoro and all of that. But at the end of the day, you still have some kind of constraint, and that's time. So guys, that's kind of the weekly plate. The other thing that I do is that I do kind of review, like not a midweek, but like, let's say, for instance, I get to Tuesday and I've been like, you know what, that was way too much. Like, I really did put too much on. I can't do it. And so then I will come back down here and I'll review. And so I'll be like, okay, I didn't get that done on Monday. I'm now going to have to move it to Tuesday. Yes, that's right. I'm now going to move it to Tuesday. Or sometimes I even go, it's just not getting done. And then I'll come in, I'll go, you know what, that was way too much. I do this most weeks, actually. I'll go, no. And so I'll actually get more realistic. And then I can leave stuff in here. So what I would want to do, is every week have nothing left in here. It's all scheduled. but sometimes it's just not possible. Like I'm up to 10 every day, and I know it's just not happening. So that's when I'll move things back in. And then if I say, you know what, that's just not getting done right now, I can always move those out of up next. And that's how I kind of that's how I do kind of all of that. And that, guys, is the Focus Hub. I hope that this has been really helpful. I hope it's been helpful in getting a sense of how I plan things and how this has evolved for me over a lot of time. And I am really passionate about not getting into the busy work. Like, and if you do work with people who, kind of in that in that, I suggest that you kind of, really try and work as much as you can in your highest ROI actions and projects, and show people that this works. Show people and prove to people. And I've had to prove to people over a long period of time that I can work on my highest ROI products and get more done than you can do doing all of your busy stuff. And so, look, guys, if you have any questions, I would love to answer them for you. And you can always reach out to me on Twitter or just via email. We also have a daily creator community that you can be a part of. It's a free community on Slack of people who are creators, and they're creating things daily, and they're living their creative life daily. So if you do want to join that, just jump onto my Gumroad page and you can request to join. Other than that, I really hope you enjoy, and I would love it so much if as you're using this, you screenshot, you give me a shout out, you kind of say yeah, I'm using the Focus Hub, I really love it, it's amazing. Do that on Twitter. I would really love that. I want to get this into as many people's hands as possible, so that people can really do their highest good work and actually get good stuff done, not get the crap work done. So, guys, thank you so much for listening to this workshop. Hope it was helpful, and please reach out to me at any time.